and complete fidelity to the spiritual teaching methods of the original Vedic tradition. All others take shortcuts that disempower their methods, dilute their knowledge, and make them useless for actual self-realization. Now, I'm not just saying that because I happen to be a teacher in the line of the esoteric teaching. I'm saying that because I actually did a comparative study, went back to the original literatures and the original practices, and found that only the esoteric teaching lineage was giving the real thing. All others have become disconnected from the original source and from the original teachings. Therefore, they're not getting the results. And so I hate to blow my own horn, but I have to say that since beginning the practice of the esoteric teaching about 35 years ago, that I actually attained all the results given in the scriptures for these teachings. And I'm just an ordinary person, so if I can do it, you can do it. I haven't seen the attainment of samadhi, or especially any of the higher stages of devotional ecstasy, bhakti yoga, in any of the other schools of the so-called Vedic derivations. Some of them are giving specialized teachings in hatha yoga or meditation or this kind of yoga or that kind of yoga. Well, that's all right. But there still has to be a school someplace that brings people to the perfectional stage of spiritual development. And where is that school? The symptoms are there in the Vedic literatures, but no one is displaying those symptoms. Only the followers of the esoteric teaching. And only those who have penetrated the, religious covering of those teachings and gotten to the real essence of them, the ontological essence of those teachings, have actually attained anything. Everyone else is simply, as my teacher used to say, licking the outside of the bottle. So we have to make a distinction between the package and its contents. Just like if I send you a Christmas present and you get the package in the mail, and then you say, oh, how wonderful, isn't that great? He sent me a Christmas present, and you put it on your shelf, the package that is, and you never open it. Well, what kind of a present is that? Are you really enjoying the present I've sent you? No. You're simply worshiping the package and ignoring the contents. The package is important. Without the wrapping, it never would have made it through the mail. Similarly, without the ontological and semantic error correction protocols that are embedded in the teaching, it never would have made it across 5,000 years from Vyasadeva to us, intact. So those coverings have to be there. The package needs to be there. But we also need to open up the package and look inside and see what are the real contents. Okay, so the outward trappings and dressings of the teaching are the package, the ritualistic practices, the error correction protocols, the original writings, the scriptures and everything. Those are only packaging. Those are only the dressing, the outward box. The inside is what counts. The inside is a concept, or more precisely, a state of consciousness. So to get that state of consciousness, you have to perform the process exactly as it is given in the original literatures. If you try to take shortcuts, if you try to take it out of its original context, then it won't have the proper effect. So we've seen many people study different Vedic arts in the West and try to take them out of context, out of Vedic society, out of the spiritual standards required by Vedic scriptures and so on. And guess what? They're not getting the original results. But then they keep the original name. Just like, let's say, I have a car for sale, and I take one wheel off the car, and I still call it a car. And as I have a car for sale for $10, Oh, very good. What a bargain. So you come and you buy this car for $10, and you've never seen a car. Maybe you don't know what a car is. So here, I give you one wheel. I say, here, enjoy your car. Thanks for the $10. Well, what kind of a deal is that? It's cheating business, isn't it? So there are people taking one or two little tiny pieces of yoga, for example, and selling it as the whole thing. Oh, here, this is yoga. This is a class on yoga. Well, wait a minute. Yoga is a vast subject, huge subject that requires a whole civilization, a whole culture, or at least a community to practice properly. There's temple worship. There's various ritual observances beginning with conception all the way through death. There's so many details, rituals, and a way of life, a way of eating, a way of sleeping, everything according to yoga. But they've taken one little piece of yoga, some physical exercise, some stretching, and they're calling that yoga, as if it was the whole thing. This is cheating. This is like selling one wheel of the car as a whole car. But people don't know because they have never seen a whole yoga. They have never seen the whole of a car. And so you give them one wheel and they're thinking, oh yes, this is very nice. So similarly, people are teaching one little bit, one little part, one little corner of yoga as the whole thing. But it's not the whole thing. It's only a part. And with that one little part, you cannot reach the goal of yoga. Just like if you only have one wheel of a car, you're not going to get very far. You're not going to be able to get the benefits that a whole car would bring you. Similarly, just practicing asana is not going to give you the actual benefits of the full yoga practice. It can't. How can it? At least they could be honest and say, well, we have an exercise class based on some derivations of a small part of the yoga teaching. That would be honest. Call it something else. Don't call it yoga. Yoga is a very big thing. Yogo yukta prasanatma na sochati na kankshati. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that anyone who is linked up in yoga is free from all worries, all troubles. Na sochati na kankshati. He doesn't lament, nor he doesn't desire anything. He's full in himself. Why? Because the individual soul is linked up with the super soul, God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And in that moment of linking with God, we find our real self also. We enter the spiritual world in an ecstatic, personal relationship with the Supreme Godhead. And in that relationship, we find our real self as well. So the process of yoga is not simply a bunch of exercises. That's childish. The real purpose of yoga is to reunite us with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and reconnect us with our original, perfect spiritual body. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of My Perfect Body. This is David Hughes, your host, reminding you to visit us on the web at esotericteaching.org, where you can purchase the complete Esoteric Teaching Introductory Seminar DVD and many CDs of transcendental music and mantras.